Peace and blessings, y'all. So this is Art and Hustle, Rap Revolution, and my name is Carlos Walker. Today we have Speech on. Speech is the the head of Arrested Development, the brains behind it. How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really doing well.
So, uh, I, if you will, before we go into anything, share a little bit about yourself. Let the people know who you are, which they should already know. But please share.
Yeah. My name is Speech, rhymer from the group Arrested Development. We've been out ever since '91, and we've been, I guess, 32 years, 33 years now of hip hop music, conscious, and yeah, Grammy Awards, MTV Awards, Soul Train Awards, NAACP Awards. Been doing a lot of things over the years, a lot of stuff.
Congratulations too, because that's big accolades. Last year was the 50th year of hip hop. We're
Yeah.
moving into the 51st year, and I see that you have a new album out. It's called what is it? Bullets. Give me 1 second. Bullets
No,
in the Chamber.
yeah, Bullets in the Chamber. It's actually a double album. Bullets in the Chamber is album one, and Round Two is album two. They both came out yesterday on the 12th, December 12th. And yeah, very grateful.
And you just got it. I guess Hip Hop Golden Age just listed it as like one of the best albums of the year so far.
Yeah, which is like so cool.
Yeah,
So cool. So
congratulations.
grateful for them. And, grateful that people are receiving it extremely well, which is what we were hoping for, obviously. But it's still a different thing once it actually happens. It's dope.
If you don't mind me asking, when was the last time that y'all actually dropped an album?
Our last album was called For the F in Love, and that was in 2021.
Okay.
We did drop a mixtape in 2023 called On the Cutting Room Floor, which was basically songs that we never released over the years that we always thought were still really great songs, but for whatever reason never made albums. So we dropped a mixtape of that in 23. But yeah, so as far as an official album, it's been 2 years since we dropped any music.
Okay. So before then it had been a while. Before 2020
Well,
2020. Go
during
ahead.
um during the pandemic in 2020, we dropped an album called Don't Fight Your Demons.
Mhm.
And that really all so basically Don't Fight Your Demons, which was 2020. 21 was For the F and Love. And then this year is Bullets in the Chamber. These three albums really have been like the resurrection of our career in some ways. Like a lot of fans really love these records. Like totally, like you said, I mean, obviously this is up for album of the year already. And those other two albums were up for album of those years. So yeah,
Okay.
it's been a lot of love.
Hey, for the resurrection, look, what I did learn is this right here. When you come back strong.
Yeah, facts.
So I am gonna read your bio, and then what we'll get into is the song.
Okay, cool.
So Speech is an award-winning artist, consistently pushing the artistic and social envelope. From writing some of the most iconic hip hop songs to leading the trailblazing two-time Grammy Award-winning group Arrested Development to superstardom, this Milwaukee native has graced stages with legends including Nelson Mandela, James Brown, The Roots, Hillary Clinton, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Public Enemy, Herbie Hancock, Oprah Winfrey, and Barack Obama. Speech and develop and Arrested Development have been a groundbreaking force in hip hop culture since 1991. Their debut album, 3 years, 5 months, and 2 days in the life of, sold over 4 million albums, earned them two Grammy Awards for Best New Artist and Best Rap Single. Tennessee, two MTV Awards for People Every Day, a Soul Train Music Award, and the coveted NAACP Image Award. Rolling Stone magazine named them Band of the Year in 1992, while VH1 na- named them one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame even named the Arrested Development Smash Tennessee one of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll, and Tennessee performed by Arrested Development was named by VH1 as one of the top 500 songs of all time, and his 5 solo albums reaped consecutive top 10 singles in Japan. Matter of fact, you just came from out of the States, correct?
Yeah.
Selling
Um,
out tours.
yeah, we literally had a sold out tour throughout Japan. We went to Yokohama, Osaka, Tokyo. And while we were there, they had an earthquake and they had a tsunami. And
Mm.
so it was a little scary, but God, thank God we're safe and we're back home, which our home is Atlanta, Georgia. And so, yeah, we've been, and then right before we were in Japan, we were in the Middle East doing tours. And we had, a huge show there. So it was a reggae show that we do hip hop, and it was great. It was great. We were actually the headliner for those shows. So, yeah, we've been actually quite busy. Probably I think it was November or December. The station CBS aired the Grammy salute to 50 years of hip hop music. And we were one of the artists on that, along with Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff and, Two Chains and you name it, like so many dope artists, Black Thought, Common, Far Side, Queen Latifah, MC Light. So it was an incredible event too. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of cool things.
So, your song "Hip Hop Saves Lives." Give me the thought behind the name.
Hip hop is one of those interesting forces that has changed the world for good and bad. On the bad side, there has been a lot of artists that have been used by corporate entities and by white supremacist ideas that perpetuate violence, perpetuate hatred towards our women. And that's the bad side.
Can you
The
hear me?
great, yeah, I can hear you. You did go out for a second, so I don't know
Give me
what
one
happened.
second. I think I'm gonna have to come off.
Okay,
Can you
cool.
hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Hmm.
I can't hear you again.
Oh, word. Okay, interesting. Let me see here.
So, the meaning of hip hop saves lives. You was talking about corporate America.
Yeah, so corporate America basically started buying out all the radio stations and a lot of the media outlets throughout the nation. And because of that, they've been able to dictate the stuff that's going to blow up pretty much in the marketplace, by positioning it in places where people are listening to music and watching videos and stuff like that. And even where people are reading magazines and watching podcasts and stuff like that. So they're able to position it where it blows up. Well, unfortunately, a lot of hip hop artists have played into the money that they can make from being on those platforms and singing, rhyming about certain subject matter that corporations really like. It entertains them. And usually it's violent. Usually it's degrading towards our women and really promoting drugs as well. Stuff that, leads a lot of people in our community towards desperation. So, um, unfortunately, hip hop has had that side of it. The other side, though, is that it has given a voice to literally billions of people across the planet, and especially in the United States, and especially Black people. It has given us an opportunity to speak about the trials that we're facing, the triumphs that we face, and the things that we dream about and hope for. So it has been an amazing music. So I decided to call this song "Hip Hop Saves Lives" because it saved mine as well.
Mhm.
It's what kept me out of violence. It's what made me have a career and a trajectory. I didn't do well in school when I was a young kid. So it gave me an outlet that was very fruitful. So yeah, it's just called "Hip Hop Saves Lives." It features Chuck D from the legendary Public Enemy, which has been a collaboration that a lot of fans have been wanting to see for a long time now.
So, we about to get into the song now, and I appreciate you for all of that. It says, "I know it's way more than fandom. When we see our fans dancing, we ain't just attractive at random." Talk to me. What does this verse mean?
Yeah, because a lot of times there's fans of every artist out there. Every artist has their own fans, but when we tour a lot and we see a lot of fans throughout the world, and I know that we're not just attractive by random. Like, you know, like my next lyric is it's not just our popular anthems, because we have 3 songs that are more popular than any other songs that we've ever put out, and that's Tennessee, People Every Day, and Mr. Wendell. Those songs came out in the 90s, and yet our fan base, they come to these shows and they want to hear way more than that. You know, they want to hear those joints, which we always love doing, but they also want to hear these other joints. And so, you know, it's just, so I know it's way more than fandom. When we see our fans dancing, we're not attracted by random. It's not our popular anthems. You know what I'm saying?
One thing I love about hip hop, and the reason why I started digging into the psychological parts of hip hop, and
Yeah.
what y'all, hip hop isn't subjective. It is in part, but it's objective. You know the reason why you created the structure, the words,
Yep.
the material. We
Facts.
don't.
That's
We
facts. Yeah.
we only hear it. We rap off this stuff,
Yeah.
and we never dig deep enough into why the artist created.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
dope.
why I started doing this, because I like the psychological part. I get to know
Yeah.
your thoughts then.
Exactly. Yeah. It's dope. I like this. I like this concept.
Appreciate you, man. Your next line is, nah, our money ain't tall, our songs ain't dark, and our checks ain't handsome. Yet for 30 years sold out France and London and Japan, and hold on, what is that? And had fans. Talk to me.
Yeah. So, you know, I'd said that, you know, we're not attractive by random. And usually when people think somebody's attractive, they say tall, dark, and handsome. So,
Mm.
you know, our money ain't tall and our songs ain't dark, you know, and our checks ain't handsome. You know, we do this for more than just money. You know, we do this for the people and to change the trajectory of our people. So we love music, we need money, but we don't do it for money. So it's like, you know, our checks ain't tall, our songs ain't dark, and our checks ain't handsome. I mean, our songs ain't whatever I said. So, you know, it's just comparing that to being attractive, and that we're not attractive by random. And we sold out literally just in 2023, which we've done throughout our career, but in 2023 even, we sold out shows in France, London, Japan, which you already, you know, I told you that we just went there, and have fans literally shed a tear when they could shake my hand, which to me is deep, you know, because I'm a rhyme artist. You know, I'm not their family member. I'm not their mother or their father or their uncle or somebody that's been in their life in any particular, you know, face to face way. And yet, when they meet somebody that they've never met before, just by the lyrics alone and by the music and whatever the presentation is, they have the emotion of shedding a tear. Or, you know, like that's how emotional people get with the stuff we've released. And that says a lot about who we are as a group.
That makes you think of how people used to faint when they used to watch Michael Jackson,
Yeah, definitely.
or cry. And
Yeah,
for you to have touched, because technically what you did was touch many people's lives through the artistry or the gift that God gave you. I think there's a Bible verse that says, your gift will make room for you and put you before great men.
facts.
And what you learn to do is use your gift. And what God did, I heard you speak about God earlier. That's the reason why I'm going to go a little deeper. But
I love God. he's
it,
he's he's
it
he's
spoke
everything.
it spoke about how you were able to create as He wanted you to create. But as you said earlier, how hip hop has touched the world, you
Yeah.
have been able to touch hearts everywhere. People are still rapping off songs from back in 1991, 92 right now, because how God utilized y'all to speak. So once again, I know you're probably gonna hear this 1,000 times, but I thank you for the music that you created.
Word up, man. Thank you. That means a lot. It really does.
So you have already did this verse, but just for namesake, I'm gonna keep going. Shed a tear when they can shake my hand. Here I stand with the stance still advancing. Some artist from Atlanta has painted all over hip hop's canvas. Talk to me.
Yeah. So, here I stand with a stance. We actually still are standing as a group, but still with a stance. Like, we're not actually just rapping about just any old thing. We like this album is chock full. The new album, Bullets in the Chamber, it's chock full of like things that most rappers aren't talking about. We're talking about the present slavery that's happening in the Congo, where little kids and children and adults are working as slaves for the phones and the technology, the batteries that we have in our phones right now, the
Cobalt.
cobalt, what I'm saying, the coltan, the lithium. These are minerals and things that most of us in the West and the Western nations aren't really thinking about, but there's slavery happening with these things because of these things right now. We're talking about that in a hip hop record in 2024. You know what I'm saying? That's just one of many issues we're talking about. We're talking about Palestine. We're talking about, Israel. We're talking about Yemen and, so on and so forth. So like, these are the kind of things that we're speaking about, but we're also speaking just about our own personal lives, So when it says that here we stand taking a stance, some artists from Atlanta, which is another thing that, Atlanta has become known nowadays for trap music and for like, crunk music back in the day. And so strip clubs, things of that nature that sort of is related to that kind of music. But we're from Atlanta as well. And that's not what we're representing. So it's just showing that there's more in Atlanta and that we've been painting all over hip hop's canvas since 91.
I like this. It says, so Rolling Stone owes y'all some answers. In 1993, they called us Band of the Year. But look at it here in 2002, they abandoned us. No surprise though, no Egypt in them, but denial.
Yeah.
I love
So
that verse.
word, thank you, man. So, like Rolling Stone puts out every year, they put out like best albums of all time, hip hop albums of all time. And Rolling Stone said that we were Band of the Year back in 92. And then in 2022, not only did they say we weren't Band of the Year, which is, that's neither here nor there, but they didn't even have us as important band at all in the history of hip hop, which I just found amazing that in one year you could say we're Band of that year. And then 30 years later, you could say that we're not important at all. And that's like in the history of hip hop. And so we don't rely on magazines like Rolling Stone to give us props, but it does say something about, again, how the corporate entities out here are making decisions about hip hop music. And it does influence a lot of people's mindsets. And so I had to rhyme about it because I feel like they owe the public answers. When we're releasing some of our best material yet, in the last, since 2020, since the pandemic, we've released some of the top albums of those years. And for Rolling Stone not to acknowledge us is, it's shameful for them as supposed music journalists. And obviously I owe Rolling Stone for the early years of them giving us proper love. But I want to call them to account for the things that I feel they're not doing right now. And I feel like they need to be more responsible. So that's what that line is about.
I think KRS-One recently spoke about, was it the Grammys?
He did.
For 50 years, you never acknowledged this. They said, he said, but you could have did this the 47th year, the 48th. Why wait till literally 50 when it's, y'all didn't believe that we were going to make it this far, and we made it. And here we are, and now you still want us to, now you invite us like as a seat at your table.
Yeah.
And if you would, speak about it.
Yeah. So first of all, KRS-One is one of my hip hop heroes. Love him, love his music, have toured with him, know him personally. I agree with his general statement about not just the Grammys, but many of the mainstream outlets have, if not ignored, they have been tone deaf about what is actually going on in the culture of hip hop. So I agree with him on that point. but not just with the Grammys. Now, I will say with the Grammys salute to hip hop that happened, you
Hmm.
know, I will say that that show was actually excellent. I mean, I really was moved by that show, not just because we were part of it, but I liked the way they positioned that show. And I'll say why. One of the reasons is because it focused on unsung MCs like Sha Rock, who was female MC back in the 70s and 80s, and part of the Funky 4+1. To have her on national mainstream television was a huge feat for hip hop because it was well deserved. So from her to Light to Latifah, JJ Fab, so many, so many others, right? And to have, Arrested Development, Common, of course, Black Thought, Far Side, Diggable, Talib, so on and
These
so
are
forth.
mainly conscious rappers, yeah.
Exactly. Like to give us in 2024 that kind of platform, not to praise the Grammys, but to praise the genre of hip hop. I
Mm.
felt that they landed on this one correctly. I wish Chris would have reconsidered and came, but that's me personally. I wish he would have come because I feel like he is an obvious,
Yes.
huge part of what hip hop is. And then there's so many other artists that I could have mentioned. But I want to give props to the Questloves and the LLs who put that together because I do think that they were conscientious, and I do think that they probably, like Karis once said, invited various artists, and for whatever reasons they declined. But I do think that the Grammys did a good job at not trying to do it themselves, but instead hiring people that really love the culture, which I don't think many people would deny that Questlove loves hip hop culture or that LL Cool J loves hip hop culture. So I think that, you know, I was part of that show. So Fatima, who was behind the scenes doing a lot of the dance, she did stuff for Color Purple. She's done stuff for Beyonce. She was sort of the choreographer, but also sort of the stage design person. The knowledge to have us in a sort of a library setting for the Arrested Development part, where it's us, Talib, Common, De La, um, and so many others. Like, to me, that was really brilliant. For them to ask Queen Latifah to do songs like Wrath of My Madness, which is what was not a mainstream hit, but it was a hit for the heads, and that people that know that 45 King produced that record, she did that song. She could have done a lot of sort of her more pop stuff, but she did that song. To me, that's an ode to real hip hop. So my point is that for them to put that kind of time and energy to get us all in that location and to give a lot of these groups, like we get some pretty nice coverage at times, but some of these groups haven't been on national television in decades. And for them to get that on a mainstream, channel like CBS, not just on their streaming channel, but on their actual channel too, that is a big deal for a lot of artists in the hip hop history. And I got to give them props for when they do things right. So I'm not suggesting that they haven't done a lot wrong. They have. But I would say that they did this one really right. They had a lot of great people behind the scenes and in front of the camera that were very much a part of the trajectory of hip hop. I mean, DJ Red Alert. I mean, Karis One, it could be argued that he may not be known by all of us if it wasn't for a DJ Red Alert. And DJ Red Alert was spinning for our section. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So D Nice, who was part of Boogie Down Productions. So I mean, it wasn't a sloppily put together piece. I'll say that at the least. I understand Chris, of course, has his right to have his own opinion on that show, and I respect his opinion. But I will say that it wasn't put together sloppily either. It was definitely a lot of truths about that show that made it admirable.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we got no mirrors, no smoke. What we reflect has never been a joke, stereotype, or trope. The word trope is only used normally when certain people use it, but I love the way you actually use this.
Yeah, thank
Talk,
you.
talk to me about this. About this.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists, and this is unfortunate. A lot of artists will say in a personal interview or to their friends that, like I don't even mess with drugs like I talk about in my lyrics. Or they'll say, you know, I ain't really ever gangbanged, or I ain't never shot nobody ever. Or, you know, one artist recently said, I won't give his name, but he like, whether he was joking or not, he said, 95% of my lyrics are lies.
What are you talking about?
And so that's their prerogative, you know what I mean? But for us, that's never been what we're about. Like we're not we're not pretending to be gangster. We're not pretending to be um, some type of violent force on the streets or nothing like this. We've been talking about uplifting our people and getting us back to our original um place of power, intellect, and beauty, since the beginning of our career. So that's what I'm saying in that lyric. Like, it's no smoke and mirrors here. It's no, you know, it's also not a joke, and it's not a negative trope either. It's just men and women on the mic doing what we do.
Loving the culture, loving hip hop,
Yeah.
and we don't snort no coke. We don't bag up no dope. I know that gets less promo. So every day we rock, and every day we rise.
Yeah.
Hop saves lives. Talk to me.
Exactly. So it's just giving the argument, that a lot of that stuff has been over magnified. You know what I'm saying? So obviously there's people in every community that's selling dope, some people in every community that's using dope. But a lot of times that's magnified within the hip hop culture for the last 25 years or so. And that's really been since the corporations have taken over hip hop, and not the actual hip hop listeners and activists that love the music and the culture. So, yeah, I mean, we're just saying, like, we know the game. Like, the game has changed, and that kind of stuff gets a lot of magnified energy. And just when we not doing that, it gets less energy. It gets a lot less, magazines covering it, blogs covering it, so on and so forth. So we're just saying, we still, every day we rock and every day we rise. And we're saying hip hop saves lives.
I promise you, it does. A lot of us. I'm 42. A lot of us learn from hip hop.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, negatives. True indeed. There was a lot of negative stuff that may have come through the airwaves.
Yeah.
Not intentionally. They were telling their lives,
Yeah.
especially in the earlier 90s, during the mid 90s. People
Yeah.
were only sharing their stories, sharing their lives. This is how hip hop, how people who spoke the art actually got their voices out.
Yep.
How we wanted to share with America or just each other's community that
Yep.
this is our lives. However, what a lot of us, especially me, I was younger then. I took some of this stuff and I moved forward. I started selling drugs.
Exactly.
And what happened, like you said, it wasn't that they was trying to push it. They were sharing different perspectives of life. Like you being an artist, you shared your perspective of life, which
Facts.
wasn't drugs, this, that, and third. And what ended up happening? Other people grasped that they could do it without selling, talking about drug dealing.
Right.
But as
Yeah.
you said, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. You can finish.
But as you say, when the corporations took over, they knew. I think I just heard. I think it was Ice Cube on an interview, and he was telling people that the same people who own these industries own private prisons.
Facts.
So what they started doing was feeding just so they could ship a bunch of people to prison. And me, I did 13 years in prison.
Word, man.
Yeah. Oh, look, now, and I wouldn't tell nobody to do this just to get this,
Right.
but probably one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life.
Understood. Yeah. I've
This
heard
is
that
what
before.
this is one of the reasons why I'm able to have a conversation with you, because a few of the things that it allowed me to do. I'm an artist, not a vocal artist, but I am a visual artist. I
Right.
draw or paint. And what happened, it has given me a voice because of the book that I wrote sitting in prison.
Dope.
I brought it home, and it has allowed me to move forward. But things that we heard, things that we learned from y'all, our artists, has given us a voice, a huge voice over the world.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Let me share, because like what culture is supposed to be for any people, whether black people, Mexican people, white people, whatever. The intent of culture is to be a, basically think of it as soil, to be
Mhm.
nurturing soil for plants to be able to grow and do what those plants are meant to do. And so when a culture has been attacked over hundreds of years and the soil has been deteriorated to rock and sand and anything but nice brown rich soil, which is meant to nurture the plants that's within it, then what happens is, and this is how I see what you just shared, is that what happens is, unfortunately, a lot of us in our black culture that has been deteriorated and poisoned, we have to actually escape our culture in order to rethink and reanalyze what our lives are about. And so you spent 12, you said
13.
13, and it allowed you apparently to think about other things, to write a book, to examine who you want to be, what you want to be as you come out. And you've done just that, which I applaud, brother. Like, huge, like, salute to you, salute to you. Um, what I think our music is striving to do is create that soil so that we don't have to go through that in order for us to have a wake up call. Like you just shared too. You're just like, I don't want people to have to go through what I went
Yep.
through. But that's what our music is about, is striving to create that culture again. Because I don't know if many viewers notice, but like during slavery, even
Mhm.
our marriages stayed together better and longer than our marriages do now. And that's during slavery. And the reason I mention that is because despite slavery being the most evil institution known to man, we had a culture that
Mhm.
we still came from in the early days of slavery, especially. We still had African culture and American culture that we came from that was still nourishing us despite enemies trying to kill us and enslaving us and so on and so forth. So I say all of that to say culture is so important, man. It is what is supposed to catch us from, falling off track in this life. One of the things that's supposed to catch us.
So moving forward, yo, I had to do this album just to prove something. I couldn't retire the fans inspired. When I land inside the muck and mire, I turned a 180 from hellfire and told the devil, hey man, F your desires, talk to me.
Yeah. So that is basically, saying what we've just been talking about. Like, we all land in this muck and mire. Muck and mire is like one of those, religious terms, but like we all land in that muck and mire at times. And for me personally, it's been the same thing throughout my life. Times when I've landed inside of, sort of following a path that I know wasn't intended for me from God, that I have to turn a 180, literally turn the opposite direction and tell Satan, who is always striving to, destroy, tell him, man, forget your desires. I'm not going with what you're doing, you know? So yeah,
Satan knows what we want.
facts.
And I look at, there's a Native American parable that speaks about the two wolves, the
Yep.
one that you feed. If you
Yep.
feed the one the left, what'll happen? It'll devour the other one. If you
That's right.
feed the right, because your spirit is neutral.
Yep.
Yes, while it's of God, it is neutral because whatever I feed is what I become.
Yeah. Facts.
And while I understand the spirit a lot more now than ever, I'm realizing that I I kind of quit listening to certain stuff
Yeah.
Because if you
Facts.
don't guard your ears and your eyes, what
Yep.
happens is it will feed you opposed to
Facts.
you feeding you. I have
Yep.
the opportunity to eat what I choose to eat,
Yep.
not what the world forced me to eat.
Facts.
We're gonna move
Yeah.
forward.
Let me say on that tip right quick. There's a song um called "We Want This," and on our new album "Bullets in the Chamber."
I'm gonna go
And
listen
I
to it.
talk about that. I talk about how basically we're going to be slave to something.
Mm-hmm.
Every human being on the planet Earth is a slave to something. Now, whether you're a slave to righteousness, which is the higher being, the higher vibrations of who you're striving to be, or you're going to be a slave to sin or to the lower vibrations
Mm-hmm.
of who you are. But you're going to be a slave to something. None of us are truly free because we're trapped in these human bodies. And so, like the scriptures, the biblical scriptures say, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Come on now.
And so what it means is that our flesh, being in this worldly body and this shell that we're in, you know, we really have a choice to feed the one wolf or the next wolf. You know what I mean? And we have a choice to live by spirit and attain to a higher vibration of what we're striving to be and who we are and how we walk in this world, or to go on the lower end of things and live on that. So we really have a choice, but either one is going to enslave us. If we're going to try to be a higher vibration, then we become slaves to that, and that's a good thing. Or
Mm-hmm.
become slaves to high vibrations. Like you just said, you don't allow this, that, and the third to come into your space because of that higher vibration. You know what I'm saying? So now you're a slave to that higher vibration, which is good. You've allowed yourself to surrender to that higher vibration. That's what we all should attain to.
And you serve the people better
Facts.
because it's
And
never
it's what
about
we were
self.
meant to be. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
about self. We were meant to be servants of each other.
Come on now. So look, me and you gonna talk after we finish the interview.
Word up.
Yeah, I promise you. Because look, one, I think I have something that you would love.
Okay.
That with who you are and with what you are called to do, I believe the inspiration that'll come from it will change the world.
Word up.
So I'm free from the sins of my youth. The devil's a liar. I'm a beacon of light, a deacon, a knight, a thief in the night. Talk to me. And
Yeah.
before you
That's
go into that, are you a deacon?
no. I have
Okay,
been
no, I had to ask that question.
no, at one point I was a minister, but I was never a deacon. But I will say, like,
Still a minister.
exactly. So, you know, I that verse, that section right there is just basically reiterating or sort of a mantra for me to remember who I am. And you could easily allow somebody to define you for you, or you can make sure you're defining who you are and the trajectory that you know you want to be on. And so that's for me the mantra, to say that I'm not going to retire, basically, that I'm a deacon, a knight, a thief in the night, cut loose the noose, I'm seeking to fight. So it's like all of these various lyrics is just talking about sort of a mantra of who I am. You know what I'm saying?
And it's funny that I said what I said before we was talking about the wolves right before that part came up. Not planned. Uh
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah.
yeah. So cut loose the noose. I'm seeking a fight. From strange fruit he can bite. Leave the scene with new seeds that breed better roots. For blacker berries and sweeter juice. Talk to me.
Yeah. That's basically talk about that soil that, you and I was discussing just a minute ago, better seeds for better roots. It's like for blacker berries and sweeter juice, blacker meaning not just skin complexion, but also just our excellence. To me, black is equivalent with excellence.
I
When
promise
you, from a historical perspective, we are not only the original man, but we are also the prototype of you know everything. You know what I'm saying? We're the prototype. We're the prototype for mathematics, for science, for astrology. We're the prototype for everything. So like when I think of black, I think of excellence. And then everything that has happened ever since was taking from what we already started. So so that's what I mean by the blacker the berries, the sweeter the juice.
The noose line, where did that come from? Because you even mentioned strange fruit in there. So I wanted to actually really know, where did that come from?
Yeah, so that was just referring to the whole era of Strange Fruit, the Billie Holiday song where, literally we're hanging from trees. And I think she came up with that term strange fruit. And so yeah, that's where that whole noose and strange fruit piece was sort of harkening back to.
I got a picture, well, technically three pictures that I drew based on strange fruit. I'll make sure I send those to you
Yeah,
after.
man, I love to see those. That's
It's gonna
dope.
blow you. It's gonna blow your mind. It's heartbreaking, but it is actually three pictures. I got to thank God for the artwork. I promise
So you do visual art.
you.
Word up. That's dope.
I've been drawing it since I was 8. While I was sitting in prison, I ended up creating a bunch of artwork, but I wrote a book called What If? So in it, I reversed the roles of white and black people. So you'll see them
Okay.
in black people's position and black people in white people's position. And
Wow. Okay, I gotta definitely check that out.
I
Yo,
got,
I got a text from my publicist. She said I have an interview that's waiting for me at 3. I didn't realize it. It's 3:15.
yes. So look, what we'll do, we'll end this, and if we can, we'll go ahead and maybe commence on it later on, maybe another time.
Yeah, that would be dope. I would
But
definitely love it, man. I love what you're doing.
I do appreciate this, and I'm going to end this. Thank you for joining us. This is Art and Hustle for all y'all who will see this later on. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peace and blessings.